You wake up one morning, and something feels a little off. Your head is foggier than usual, your balance isn't quite the same, or you feel more drained than the day before, even though nothing big has changed. So you look at your life. You don't smoke. You try to eat your vegetables. You're doing your best. And yet your body is giving you signals. Have you ever had a day like that and thought, is this just my age now? Or is there something I can still change? As we move through our 50s, 60s, and beyond, our bodies don't process foods the same way they did at 30 or 40. The kidneys filter a little more slowly. Blood vessels become a bit stiffer. Medications and meals start talking to each other in ways we can't see, but we can feel. That doesn't mean food becomes the enemy. It simply means certain foods shift from being always safe to pay attention foods, especially when it comes to the brain, circulation, and stroke risk. Today, we're going to walk through 7 common vegetables that are still nutritious, but may need a little more wisdom and a little less autopilot after 60. Not to scare you, not to take away everything you enjoy, but to help you understand how to use these foods in a way that supports your brain instead of quietly working against it. You can think of this as upgrading how you eat to match the body you live in now, not the one you had decades ago. You're sitting at your kitchen table, maybe with a morning pill organizer nearby, and a bowl of salad or a green smoothie in front of you. For many older adults, leafy greens like spinach have been a long-time health staple. They're rich in vitamin K, folate, and antioxidants. But if you take blood thinners, those same leafy greens can affect how smoothly your blood flows. Vitamin K helps blood clot. Blood thinners help prevent it from clotting too much. When you suddenly eat a lot more vitamin K-rich greens than your normal pattern, it can confuse that balance. That doesn't mean spinach or other leafy greens are bad. It means your brain and your heart like consistency. If you take a medication that thins your blood, big swings in leafy green intake, going from almost none to huge salads or daily large green smoothies, can make it harder for your doctor to keep your levels stable. A calmer approach is to keep your intake steady. Enjoy reasonable portions of greens most days. Talk with your healthcare provider about what steady looks like for you, and avoid big, sudden changes without checking in. You still get the benefits of the vegetables, but in a way that works with your medicine, not against it. Now picture an afternoon where you're trying to take good care of your heart. You've heard that beets are good for blood pressure and circulation. You might sip a glass of beet juice or add roasted beets to your salad, hoping to give your body a little extra support. Beets naturally help blood vessels relax, which can be helpful for some people. But if you're already taking blood pressure medication, that gentle effect can stack on top of your prescription. For a younger body, that extra drop may be easy to handle. For an older body, especially at night when blood pressure naturally dips, that combination can sometimes lead to pressure that's too low and blood that moves more slowly than your brain needs. Slow, thick, or low-flow blood makes it easier for little clots to form and harder for oxygen to reach delicate brain tissue. That doesn't mean you need to fear beets. It just means timing and portion size matter more now. Smaller servings earlier in the day, rather than large glasses of juice in the evening, are often a gentler choice if you live with blood pressure issues or take related medications. When you look at your usual routine, are there any healthy habits you started years ago, like daily beet juice or big green smoothies, that you've never really rechecked with your doctor since your 40s or 50s? Sometimes the habit doesn't need to disappear. It just needs to be adjusted to match the season of life you're in now. Next, let's move to something that seems almost too light to be a concern: celery. You might imagine a plate of celery sticks beside hummus or peanut butter, a crisp snack that feels refreshing and harmless. And in many ways, it is. Celery has water, fiber, and a gentle flavor that works well in soups and salads. But celery also has a mild, natural diuretic effect. It can encourage your body to release more fluid. If you already take diuretic or blood pressure medications that do the same thing, that effect can quietly add up. When we're younger, our bodies bounce back from fluid shifts more easily. As we age, losing too much fluid, especially through the night without drinking, can leave the blood thicker and more concentrated by morning. Thicker blood doesn't glide as smoothly through narrow, aging vessels. It moves more slowly, and that slow flow makes it easier for clots to form in places that feed the brain. You don't have to avoid celery altogether. Instead, think about context and timing. Enjoy it earlier in the day, drink water regularly, and be mindful of pairing large portions of celery with strong water-shedding medications late at night. If mornings bring dizziness, dry mouth, or a foggy feeling when you stand up, that may be your body asking you to revisit how hydration and diuretics fit together in your routine. Now imagine you're blending a smoothie. You place kale into the blender with fruit, maybe some seeds or plant-based milk. It feels like a fresh start, a health reset in a glass. Kale is absolutely rich in vitamins and antioxidants, but, like many cruciferous vegetables, it also contains compounds that can interfere with how your thyroid uses iodine, especially when it's eaten raw in large amounts every single day. For some older adults, a thyroid that slows even a little can lead to fatigue, brain fog, weight changes, and shifts in cholesterol and circulation. When metabolism slows, blood can become a bit thicker, and arteries can feel more burdened over time. This doesn't mean kale is a villain. It means your body tends to prefer balance over extremes. Lightly cooking kale, rotating it with other greens like romaine, arugula, or bok choy, and avoiding oversized daily raw kale smoothies can be a kinder approach for your thyroid, and by extension, your brain and heart. Do you ever notice days when your thinking feels slower, or your body feels heavier, and you can't quite explain why, even though your health habits seem good? Sometimes the answer isn't to add more, but to gently adjust what you're already doing. Let's step away from the produce drawer for a moment and walk over to the pantry. You open the door and see familiar cans lined up. Green beans, corn, mixed vegetables, maybe a few soups. They're comforting because they feel practical and reliable. They last a long time, they're easy to prepare, and they're still vegetables. But many canned vegetables and soups are preserved with a lot of salt. For an older body, that salt doesn't always clear out the way it used to. Extra sodium pulls more water into the bloodstream. That can raise blood pressure and make blood a bit thicker and heavier. When thick blood pushes through stiffer arteries, the vessel walls can feel stressed and irritated. Over time, the body tries to repair those stress spots by sending platelets and clotting factors. It means well, but those tiny repair jobs can become places where clots are more likely to form. Again, the answer isn't fear, it's simple strategy. Rinsing canned vegetables under water before eating them can wash away a surprising amount of sodium. Choosing no salt added or low sodium versions when you can, and mixing canned vegetables with fresh or frozen ones, keeps the total load gentler on your arteries. Keep in mind, your goal is not to remove all convenience, it's to keep your circulation smooth and steady. Now, picture a plate of potatoes, warm, familiar, comforting. Maybe they're mashed with dinner, baked with a little topping, or part of a weekend breakfast. Potatoes have been a staple for generations, and they do provide some nutrients and energy. But they're also very starchy, and your body breaks that starch down into sugar quickly. As we age, that quick surge in blood sugar becomes harder to manage. When blood sugar spikes, it can irritate blood vessel linings over time. Think of it as a gentle but repeated wear and tear on the inside of the arteries. Your body responds by trying to repair those tiny spots, and that repair process often uses, once again, clotting factors. The more frequent and intense the sugar spikes, the more often that repair cycle is triggered. Over years, that cycle can contribute to thicker blood, inflamed vessel walls, and a higher chance that a small clot might form and travel to the brain. You don't have to say goodbye to potatoes forever. You can soften their impact by pairing them with protein and fiber, like beans, fish, or vegetables, instead of eating a large portion by itself. Choosing smaller servings or exploring swaps like cauliflower mash or mixing potatoes with lower starch vegetables. Sometimes just changing how much and what you serve with them is enough to move your meal from harder on the brain and blood vessels to much more balanced. Finally, Think about the sharp, tangy crunch of a pickle or a forkful of fermented vegetables like sauerkraut or kimchi. They can feel refreshing and light, and many people reach for them now because they've heard about probiotics and gut health. These foods can offer benefits, but they often carry a double load of salt and acid. The salt can raise fluid levels in the bloodstream and stress blood vessels, especially if you're already managing high blood pressure or heart concerns. The acid, especially later in the evening, can contribute to nighttime reflux in some people. When reflux creeps up while you're lying down, it can irritate the throat and even affect the nerves that help regulate heart rate and blood pressure. For an older nervous system, that irritation sometimes shows up as unsettled sleep, uneven pressure, or a general sense of offness that's hard to name. You don't need to fear a pickle spear or a spoonful of sauerkraut. Just consider when and how often you have them. Smaller portions earlier in the day, choosing lower sodium versions when possible, and noticing how your body responds can all make a difference. Your heart and brain tend to appreciate stability more than extremes, even with healthy trends. Let's pull all of this together into a calm, clear picture. You're not being asked to throw away your vegetables or eat with fear. Instead, you're being invited to eat with wisdom, the kind you've earned from years of living in your body. Some foods like leafy greens, beets, celery, kale, canned vegetables, potatoes, and pickled or fermented foods still have benefits. But after 60, they become pay-attention foods, especially if you take blood thinners or blood pressure medications, live with kidney or heart conditions, have a history of stroke or circulation issues, or notice frequent dizziness, fogginess, or big energy swings. Instead of cutting everything out, you can favor balance over extremes. Cook some greens instead of always drinking them raw in large smoothies. Enjoy beets and celery earlier in the day and alongside good hydration. Rotate kale with other gentle greens and check in on thyroid health when needed. Rinse canned vegetables, choose low-sodium options, and lean on frozen or fresh when you can. Pair potatoes with protein, fiber, and healthy fats, and keep portions modest. Treat pickles and fermented foods as small, thoughtful accents and not nightly rituals. What is one small shift you could make this week in your shopping, your cooking, or your timing that might make your next meal feel just a little kinder to your vessel? You've come a long way with your body, and it has carried you through work, family, stress, joy, illness, healing, and everything in between. It deserves a style of eating that honors the way it works now, and not the way it worked decades ago. You are not fragile, you are adaptable, and your brain is still listening to every choice you make, not with judgment, but with response. Which of these pay-attention foods feels most important for you to rethink this week? And what supportive swap or adjustment are you curious to try first? Every day is another chance to care for the body that's carried you this far. Keep learning, keep moving, keep believing in your own strength. Because aging isn't slowing down, it's leveling up. If today's message resonated, take a moment to subscribe, leave a thought in the comments, or share this video with someone who could use a little encouragement. Because, together, we're proving that aging well isn't the exception, it's the standard.